Good morning and welcome to the Caregiver Teleconnection. My name is Glenda Rogers and I'm going to be your facilitator for today's session. Today we have with us April Moxley, and she is with Vitas Healthcare, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself in just a moment. We're going to be talking about healing in the holidays, really important topic this time of year. So April, before you get started with your presentation, would you tell our participants a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business? I'll call it that.
I sure will. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be able to present today. Again, my name is April Moxley, and I am a social worker. I am also the bereavement services manager at Vitas Healthcare, and we are a hospice company. We work, we've been in the San Antonio area for over 20 years, and we're actually a national hospice who have been working in the hospice field for over 40 years. I've been with Vitas for 18 years, so I'm very proud that I've maintained my career here at Vitas. Again, I was a hospice social worker for many years until jumping into this role about 7 years ago as the bereavement manager. We've been able, we do several different groups throughout the city. We do online support groups for grief and loss. You're welcome to go to vitas.com and look at those different support groups. Most of those are offered via Zoom as well. So it's a great resource. We started that right after COVID hit. About 2 months later, we went and ended up doing probably offering 10 to 12 support groups at a time there. So there's also some great information about grief and loss on our website. So if you ever need that, that's a good resource for you as well. I'm happy to be here today to share some information about healing in the holidays. Holidays are rough, right? There are lots of expectations that are there for the holidays that are mostly based on being happy. And that can be a struggle when you're grieving. That can be a really hard thing to even wrap your mind around or even think about being happy during the holidays. I'm going to start my presentation now. Let's see. So coping with grief during the holidays, some of the things that might come up after a loss might be, who's going to carve the turkey this year? Grandpa always did it. What are we going to do? We can't move on. He can't be replaced in that way, right? Who's going to fill in for him? I don't have the energy or the desire to shop or decorate or visit others this Christmas. Everything seems very overwhelming. I just want to erase the holidays this year. I'll just feel too empty without my husband to celebrate. Very real comments, right? Very real situations that many people may find themselves in this holiday season. It can be just a huge struggle to put that smiling face on and walk into those different, invitations, the different things that you're invited to during the holiday season, when inside you feel so empty and so lost. When we are looking at developing some coping skills for grief during the holidays, we have to remember that memories serve as a constant reminder of the loss. And watching others that are celebrating can be painful and very overwhelming. And that's particularly in the first year after death, but that's not always the case. Always the first year after a loss. There are lots of firsts. Obviously, the first birthday without that person, the first holidays, the first anniversary, all those different things, the anniversary of the death. There's lots of different firsts, but I have also heard many people talk about just in general, after a loss, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years down the road, how difficult it is to not have that person there. And so as survivors, we must learn how to develop maybe new rituals or new traditions, and that can be a hard thing to do. But I would say the first step in coping with grief at the holidays is we have to acknowledge it. We have to just say it out loud sometimes, not make it that elephant in the room, but really just acknowledge the fact that the season is difficult. The holiday season is difficult. A really great way to help with that, though, is to prepare for it. by making some specific plans and obtaining that good support that you need. And just overall, just remembering that sometimes that anticipation of the holiday can be more difficult than the holiday itself. But such a big piece of it is to acknowledge it. Okay, the holidays are coming. They're here, right? It's December, what is it? 4th? 5th. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm a day off. It's December the 5th. And they are coming fast and coming furious. So we just have to acknowledge the fact that, okay, it's going to be difficult. This is hard. This is hard. Some tips. We can set realistic expectations for yourself. Again, acknowledging this year is different, right? And depending on what is going on with those different past responsibilities and expectation, kind of examine the tasks and what you want to do, what you want to continue, maybe what you don't want to do. Accept others' offers to cook, to shop, to decorate. I saw on Facebook yesterday, a friend of mine was in the hospital because she's having some complications with her pregnancy, and a friend from church went and said, I know you don't feel like the holidays, but I'm putting this stuff in your room anyways. Came with a little tree and some different decor and things like that. And so letting people help you, letting people do things for you. I had another at a support group yesterday. The participant said that, oh, I didn't want to put the Christmas tree up. I just didn't want to do it. I was kind of kicking and screaming and I didn't want to do it. But my granddaughter called me and said, I'm coming over. I'm going to put the Christmas tree up because that's what Grandpa would want. And it's okay, Grandma, that you don't want to. I get it. But I'm going to come over and do it. And she said, I wanted to say no, but I let her come over. I let her do it. And I know that my husband would want that. And I'm glad that I let her do that. We can also just consider that whole shopping by phone thing, right? You know, grief or not, I think that's a great option. Right?
Yeah.
The malls and all those different things are crazy, but internet shopping is great. You can avoid crowds, you can avoid memories if you need to, right? But overall, just set those realistic expectations and maybe sit down and think about all the things, the obligations that you have, what you want to do and what you don't want to do this year. And know that just because you don't do it this year, so maybe you don't put a Christmas tree up, that's okay. It doesn't mean that next year you won't, or maybe you won't. It's okay. It's okay to give yourself that permission. So surround yourself with people who love and support you. Share your plans with family and friends and let them know the changes in the holiday routines. Again, it's all about planning. People appreciate that, right? Memories can sometimes be a source of comfort to the bereaved. So share them by telling stories and looking at photo albums and things like that. You know, that's a way that we can bring our loved one in to the holidays. We can't deny that they are not with us physically. That's apparent, that we can feel that to our core. But we are connected to them still. We've got a soul connection, we've got a spirit connection to them, and bringing them into the holidays can be helpful. Talking about them, right? Sharing stories about them. Oh, I remember this Christmas when this, and this happened, right? And your grandfather did this, or your grandfather did that. Allowing for those stories to be told, right? And not being afraid of the stories, not being afraid that someone may get emotional about those. And so again, that's where it comes into letting people know what you need as well. Despite the temptation to avoid canceling the holiday, it's okay to avoid some of the circumstances that you don't feel ready to handle, but don't isolate yourself, right? Make some time for some retreating, some solitude, to remember and to grieve, to allow yourself to have those feelings, but it's a balance with those social activities as well, right? Isolation isn't good. But we can do small things. We can do little things that we can get ourselves out into or being around others to avoid isolation. Allow yourself to feel joy, sadness, anger. Allow yourself to grieve. It's important that we recognize that every person in your family, friends, They're all going to have their own unique way of grieving. That can make it a little bit difficult, right? We don't understand, where we think that the other person might not be grieving, or someone in our family isn't grieving, they're fine. Maybe we're angry about that, but we don't really know. We don't know how they are grieving. Just because someone isn't showing outward, right, by crying, things like that, does not mean that they are not in grief, does not mean that they're not grieving. In fact, men and women grieve differently, right? Women may be more emotional. It's not the rule, right? It doesn't mean that if you are not emotional that there's something wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But overall, women may be more emotional and show the outward emotions of their grief through sadness, through tears. Men tend to do things. Men tend to go outside to the garage and maybe bang around on a car, or maybe, get some things done around the house that they need to get done. But they are doers in their grief. And so we may not see them shed a tear, but being outside in their workshop, things like that might be a helpful thing for them. Let's see. Just remember, our grief is unique to us, and that there's no right or wrong. And also remember that experiencing joy and laughter during a time of grief does not at all mean that we've forgotten our loved one, right? There's a thought of, well, if I'm grieving, then I can't experience joy. There are going to be days that are like that, for sure. But joy and grief can coexist. They can be there together. We can have both in our lives. And it does not mean that we've forgotten. Here's some more tips. We can draw on comfort from doing for others, right? Consider giving a donation or a gift in memory of your loved one. Invite a guest who might otherwise be alone for the holidays. Adopt a needy family during the holiday season. There are a bazillion ideas out there. You can Google things to do for others during the holiday season. It can be something that your loved one enjoyed. They enjoyed pets. You could go and offer some time at a pet shelter to walk the dogs or pet the cats or what have you. You can deliver some magazines or some books to a nursing home or to an elementary school if you have some little kid books. It just depends on what you can think in that way of what your loved one may have liked you to have done, or it can be just something out of your heart. There's so much need in our world. There's a million things that we can do, and the really cool thing is that you're doing it to honor them, right? That's the real healing part of it. The next one is to take care of yourself. Avoid using alcohol to self-medicate your mood. Try to avoid the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. Physically exercise is also a really great antidote for depression. Writing in a journal can be good for your grief as well. And then giving yourself permission to buy something frivolously and indulgent, just because, that's okay too, right? We really want to practice that self-care, not only during the holiday season, but as grievers. If we are struggling in our grief, if we've just lost someone, it's really important to focus on self-care. And that comes in many shapes and many sizes. That can be a physical self-care, right? You can physically exercise, go get a massage, a pedicure, something that you can do for yourself, right? It doesn't have to be big either. But then additionally, emotionally, what can we do for ourselves? Writing in a journal. Writing in a journal is an easy way to kind of get those feelings out, to allow for those feelings to meet the paper with, pen and paper, and just write how you're feeling. And that can be a really great outlet for our grief. But I really love the thought about buying a little something frivolous or indulgent. I think that's okay. It can even be something that maybe your loved one who passed away you feel like really would want you to have. All in moderation, of course. Create a new tradition or ritual that accommodates your current situation. Some people find comfort by honoring traditions, while others find them just very, very painful. Discuss with your family the activities you want to include or exclude this year. Some different types of rituals and traditions, yeah, again, might be having everybody over for the holidays at this particular house. And if you are the person that is really, really grieving and just not able to do that this year, it's okay to ask, would someone else be able to host it this year? I can't do it. That's okay. Or, if you have a ritual of giving, gifts, you might want to look at doing something a little bit different, right? Maybe doing a white elephant situation, or there's just a lot of different rituals and traditions that you may have already that you may want to change a little bit. Yesterday in my grief support group, we were talking, and one of the participants said that her husband he had to burn brush a lot because they live on some property. So he'd invite the grandkids over when he had the little bonfire and things like that. And they would love it. They would come over, and by the end of it, you smelled like smoke and you had to go and take 2 different showers to get it out of your hair. But the grandkids loved it. And she said, you know what? I absolutely want to keep doing that, but I think I'm going to add it. I'm going to change a little bit of that and make a little bit of it mine too. So we'll have part of grandpa there and part of grandma there. She said, I want to roast hot dog weenies out there, and I want to do s'mores. So I'm going to buy the stuff. And she said, granted, my grandkids are 23 and 24 and 26. Do you think they'll want to come? I said, absolutely. Maybe offer a little wine too, and they'll be really happy. But, she wanted to make it her own. Remembering him, pulling him into it, remembering him, but also doing something that she just wanted to change it a little bit. And that made sense to her. Again, announcing beforehand that someone different will carve that turkey. That's a big thing that people don't think about. And the last thing you want is for you to be there at that point and thinking, we forgot, so grandpa used to do this and we don't have anybody to do this. So plan ahead. Creating a memory box, fill it with photos of your loved one, memory notes from family members and friends. Ask young children to contribute with drawings in that memory box. I kind of did that last Thanksgiving after my father-in-law passed away in May. I wanted to hold space for him at Thanksgiving. So when everybody came over, I handed out little cardstock pieces of paper and said, write down a great memory that you have of Pops. Share with us something that's on your heart about Pops. It can be a memory, it can just be a thought, it can be whatever. And everybody participated. The little kids had help from their parents, obviously, and we put it all into a jar, and then we started reading from them, right? And picking them out and reading them. And we laughed, we cried, we held space for him. And then I sent it home with my mother-in-law, something that she would have. That jar of just good memories. And I said, read those whenever you're having a tough day. Just know that, he made a difference in a lot of people's lives. The next one, make a decorative quilt using favorite colors, symbols, images, or pieces of clothing and fabric that remind you of the person who has died. Now, I don't pretend to know how to quilt, and probably most people don't, but if you do, that's amazing. What a gift. But there's lots of good websites too that do that for you, that you can send in, and they'll do something like that for you. Also, it can just be as simple as lighting a candle in honor of your loved one, and having that burn during the event that you're hosting or that you're going to be at, just to hold space for them to know, this is our candle, this is our loved one Sam's candle. It's going to burn bright the entire evening or time that we're together, so that we can remember him and that he's here with us. Put a bouquet of flowers on your holiday table in memory of your loved one. Simple stuff. Visit the cemetery and decorate. I had a member yesterday of our group that said during the Thanksgiving holiday was the first time that she went back to her mom's gravesite at the cemetery. And she said, man, I had no idea how many feelings I still had that I needed to release. She got there and she said, it took me right back to that day of the actual, burial, where I was numb. I couldn't even cry at that point in time. And coming back a year later and decorating it and just sitting there near her mom, all the feelings rushed out. And she said it felt like an amazing release. It was something that she needed. She needed to grieve her mom in that moment, and she did. Have a moment of silence during a holiday toast to honor your loved one. Place a commemorative ornament on the Christmas tree. I also did that for my father-in-law. I gave my mother-in-law a beautiful cardinal red bird, and I put with a beautiful pen, I put pops, and we put it in her tree, kind of looking down on her. And then we did one in our tree as well to make sure that we knew that he's nearby. Dedicate, Hanukkah candles in memory of your loved one. Write a poem about your loved one and read it during a holiday ritual. If that's a way that you express your grief, maybe someone in your family is a poet, right? And has written something about your loved one. Talk about those things. Play your loved one's favorite music. That's a great one. If they were into music and you knew without a doubt that this music was something that meant something to them, play it at the event. Play a favorite game of theirs. Plan a meal with your loved one's favorite foods. Or if there was something specific that they loved, you can name that, the grandpa's apple pie, we're going to rename it this year. The most important thing to remember is there's no right or wrong way to celebrate the holiday season after someone has died. The best coping mechanism for the first holiday season is to plan ahead and then get support from others and take it easy. Grief is a lot of hard work. It actually accounts for about 60% of our emotional energy when we're grieving. 60%. So if you are grieving someone, you are tired. You are emotionally tired for sure. So that's why it's really important that you find that balance of doing things and then retreating back and allowing yourself some time to grieve. We'll jump into 5 ways to plan for the holidays. It's important to ask each family member to kind of give thoughts and preferences about participating in different traditions. So maybe have a family meeting, right? The Christmas is upon us, so we've got to do that kind of quick, but discuss the role your loved one played in those traditions. Did they always bring a pumpkin pie? Did grandpa always say a special prayer? Maybe you and your dad always did the Christmas tree together. But those are the things that we can plan for, and we can talk about what you'll miss most about that loved one's, absence. And, really, this is a first step for you to kind of start coping with your grief and decide on who's going to do those things this year. My grandfather always said a special prayer at our Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it was hard when he passed away. We talked about it ahead of time, and my dad said, no, I'd like to say the prayer. It was a different prayer. It wasn't similar to what my grandfather would do. It was my dad's, right? But we included my grandfather in that, and it was a very huge honor for my dad to take over that role. The next one is review all holiday associated activities, and then to, again, keep and, decide on what you're going to change this year. We can look at, replicating mom's pumpkin pie, just so that everyone feels that comfort, right? And it's a great way to honor her memory. But each member of the family should only do what they feel most capable of handling, and everyone should honor the choices made by the entire family. No one says that you have to do things the way you have in the past. If you usually went to the deceased house for the holiday dinner this year, you might decide to go someplace different, stay home, or go out to eat somewhere, right? It's okay if you don't feel like decorating. If you do, allow, again, people to help. This will lighten the mood and add to the festive feeling. It's okay if you don't like attending a religious service. If you do, invite someone to go with you and share that special time together. This is not the time for big expectations, right? Feelings of grief ebb and flow. You may feel upbeat, energetic one moment and overwhelmed and sad the next and tired the next, right? It's a time to be kind to yourself and help others understand how you feel and what you need. That's a big piece of the grief work, right? Is to be able to tell people what you need. We can't assume that they know. We don't do grief amazing in the United States. I think it's changing. I hope it is. It's one of the reasons it's a passion of mine to share some information about grief and loss, to educate about it. But until you're there, until you are grieving, um, you don't know. And so when people are offering to help you, they really and truly do want to help, but additionally, they may not know what you need. So like I tell my kids, use your words. You have to tell somebody what you need. Tell them what you need. The next one, decide how to include the memory of your loved one in the holiday events. So that chair might be empty, but your loved one will be present in your mind and heart throughout the holiday season. We can include them, bring them with us. Again, we're talking about that special candle to light, or by placing notes in a box to read later after the Thanksgiving meal is eaten or after the presents have been opened. While you're all together, look through photo albums, tell stories about your loved one who's gone. This can make you feel connected to each other and to that person that has died. Could that bring up some feelings of sadness? It could, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And I can guarantee you that if that sadness is building in you, it's building in someone else. And they probably need to release it just like you do. So allowing for that moment, those moments of joy, allowing for the sadness to be there as well, and talking about it, when we gather and maybe have a little bit of a family meeting, let's just acknowledge the fact that there are going to be moments of happiness there, and there's going to be moments of sadness, and to allow for it all. Respond to holiday invitations. They're full of parties and gets-togethers. You should plan to be with your people you enjoy, even just for a few moments. To make it easier, ask a friend to accompany you and stay as long as you want. Ask your host if it's okay to accept or decline at the last minute, since you're not sure how you'll be feeling, and allow yourself to decline invitations that you don't want to accept. It's a good excuse to say no if you need to. Realize also that your fear of the holidays may be worse than the actual reality. Sometimes just that thought of being around happy party goers can make your grief more noticeable. It's hard to watch as life goes on around you while you're still stinging from the death of your loved one. But the fear of going through the holiday season without them might actually be worse than the reality, as you do surround yourself with family and friends, and allow yourself to enjoy golden moments when you can see the joy of the season peeking through those shadows of your sorrow, and your loved one would want that for you ultimately. So I think it is important that we just understand that that joy can be there and to allow for it. There's a range of ideas, and you can choose those personally, of ways to honor. We talked about some of these already. Let's see. You can duplicate and frame a favorite photo of your loved one for family gifts, maybe an ornament, or just something special that they have at their house too. You can make a list of all the ways your loved one enriched your life and continues to influence you, right? That gratitude for that life that was a part of you. Visit favorite places and savor the memories you and your loved one share. Do something that your loved one enjoyed. If they enjoyed attending plays, a concert, the theme park, or a baseball game, go and do that in honor of them. Plant a tree, dedicate a memorial brick or a park bench in your loved one's name. Create something, again, a quilt or a teddy bear from their clothes. We can also plant a garden or set up a bird feeder in your loved one's place. It's a nice place to go outside, and be connected to them, right? Especially if they like to garden or they like the birds outside, to feed the birds. It's a really great place for you to connect to them. Arrange for remembrances of your loved ones at a mass or a religious service. Just donate some flowers or plants to your church, your synagogue, or place of worship in honor of your loved one. Donate objects or materials to be used in worship or education in your loved one's name. Set up a memorial, scholarship, or fund in honor of your loved one. Make a donation to your loved one's favorite charity. Volunteer your time to a person in need or to an organization in honor of your loved one. Visit and bring flowers to the cemetery. Just really, it's more about the ideas. There's a lot more online you can find, but choosing what feels right to mark, not just the holidays, but as birthdays come up, right? Anniversaries come up, ways to honor them. Even though that person's no longer here, remember that he or she continues to make a difference in your life. Okay, I wanted to include this a little bit about handling the holidays and special anniversaries with grieving kiddos. Um, sometimes we don't really know how to include them in it, right? But it's important that we do involve them. They can be difficult for grieving kiddos. They don't know what to do either, right? Just as we don't. And really and truly, what we do is a model for them for the rest of their lives. So it's important that we, help them understand, while it's not going to be the same, how can we honor them? Let a bereaved child know in advance that he or she might experience some painful feelings during the holiday or anniversary. Again, it helps it make it tolerable, right? If it kind of sneaks up on them that that grandma or grandpa or even their mom and dad isn't there for Christmas morning, or those types of things, we have to talk about it first. We have to help them understand that this is what it's going to be like. Um, Slightly alter old holiday rituals or create new ones. Some holidays acknowledge that some holidays are harder than others. Again, that Mother's and Father's Day can be difficult for a child who's lost a parent. A child might decide to take a substitute mother to a Mother's Day banquet or a substitute father to a father-daughter dance, for example. That takes planning, right? We can't ignore it. Some children often choose to celebrate the birthday of their parent by baking a cake, lighting candles, and making a birthday gift. If children feel a need to commemorate their loved one, offer to take them on a visit to the cemetery or a special place that brings back a positive memory of the parent or grandparent. Other holidays can be commemorated in the same way by giving gifts, sharing memories, and developing special rituals. Also volunteering time, depending on how old that child is. If they're, adolescent age, it would be a great idea to, do something in their honor, working at a food bank for a little while in memory of their loved one. So I wanted to talk about some of the rights you have this holiday season. You have the right this holiday to not attend get-togethers that you don't want to attend. You've gotten permission from me if you needed it. It's there. Change how you celebrate the holidays. Not to decorate it all, decorate every inch that you can. Say time out anytime you need to. Okay, I just need a break. I need to go, I need to, retreat some and allow myself to have the feelings. Talk about your loved one during conversations, even if it makes others feel uncomfortable. You have that right, right? Most grievers, that's all they want to do is talk about their loved one that they've lost. And in talking about them, they heal. So you're okay. Talk about them. Forget about everything you should be doing and just be. Tell people how you are really doing when they ask. It's kind of a loaded question sometimes, right? When someone asks you, how are you? We typically just say, oh, I'm good, right? Just to kind of avoid having to explain. But you know what? You can tell people how you're really doing. I'm struggling, I'll be honest. Holidays have been hard. Be sad or mad or lonely or silly or however you feel at any given moment. That's your right. You can have some bah humbug days. You can throw a pity party if you want. You can throw the covers back over your head and say, I'm just going to lay here for a little bit longer. But you can also have the right to have fun without feeling guilty. Again, we have to remember, just because there's joy doesn't mean that we've forgotten. We all need a break from our grief. Spend time with people who help you feel better, even if they're not family. Change your mind 3 times in 5 minutes if you need to. It's okay. It's part of grief, right? A normal reaction to grief is having a very hard time making decisions or concentrating. You can cry, you can laugh and cry at the same time, daily. Leave early if it gets too hard. Cancel at the last minute if you just can't do it. Do something for someone else because it feels good. And do it all different next year, right? It's okay. And I wanted to just encourage you to remember a rule that we talk about many times in different grief groups is the 20-minute rule. We can do most anything for 20 minutes, right? So give yourself 20 minutes at a social event, wrap it up and leave. Don't wait till you're 100% ready to go. Grieving takes energy and, during the holiday, it demands a lot of energy. So being with people, even those that you love, requires energy that is in short supply right now. If you overdo and stay too long, you'll be overtired for days afterwards. So be compassionate to yourself and leave early rather than leave late. So again, you can say yes or you can say no to an event, but if you say yes, just follow that 20-minute rule. I can do anything for 20 minutes. I'm going to go and and you can let whoever is hosting know I'm coming, but just let you know I may not stay too long. Don't be offended. It's just, I need to take care of myself as well. Here are some resources for grief in the holidays, some books, and then some websites. Again, I've provided vitas.com, a lot of good resources that we have. And then one of my favorite online platforms is whatsyourgrief.com. They've got some really great ideas about the holiday season as well. Something you can follow on Instagram. I wanted to make everyone aware that at Vitas, we are having an event. It's called Preserving the Light of Our Memories. The title, When Someone You Love Becomes a Memory, the Memory Becomes a Treasure. And that's so, so true. So we wanted to invite all of you to a virtual event that's actually facilitated by our bereavement professionals. You can join others who are coping with loss during the holiday season. It's free. It can be for anybody. You didn't have to use VITAS for hospice or anything like that. It's to anyone in the nation. It's free on Zoom. It features music, storytelling, mutual support, and the opportunity to share treasured memories. And it's going to be on 2 different dates. It's actually this week. Thursday, it'll run at 5 o'clock Central Time. And then on Friday, it'll be at 1 o'clock Central Time. The time has expired to be able to register for it. You had to register yesterday, but if you are interested, you can get me your information, and I'm sure Glenda and I can figure that out. I can get you the Zoom link so that you can log in or log on and be a part of that. We do it every year. It's something we started after COVID as well. We do one for the holidays, and then we'll do one for Valentine's. We'll do one for Mother's Day and Father's Day as well. So you can always just check at vitas.com and it'll show you that information about a month before that event. And that's all I have today for grief in the holidays or grieving in the holidays. Does anyone have any questions, or we can surely continue the talk and the information. Maybe someone has done, maybe there's some more ideas out there that someone might want to share.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, April, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, if you'd like to join the conversation, or if you have questions or comments, you can just unmute your microphone and I'll see that, and I can call on you by name. Let's see. Okay, Minerva has a question. She posted over here in the chat box. Chat box is open. After the first year, should one push their loved one to celebrate the season? I'm assuming that this is perhaps a parent that has chosen not to.
I mean, I would gently push, maybe offer some information that you got here, right? Um, talk about that 20-minute rule with them, see how
Mhm.
that goes over. I think, again, everybody's going to do it a little bit different, in terms of their grief. We have to be gentle with them regarding that. And a lot of that is also, providing them with good resources and letting them know that, hey, I learned this today, that it is important um, to go and to do some events, to do some things that maybe you're invited to. You could stay for 20 minutes and then leave. Because we recognize that you still need to, to preserve some time for you and to heal yourself. So I think it's just about giving different options. Always invite, I think, because people, and they may say no far more than they ever say yes, but I can guarantee they'll end up saying yes eventually.
Yeah. I love that 20-minute rule. I wish I'd have known about it when I was going through this process years ago. Because it's so
It's
freeing to know, okay, I've got a time frame here and I can go and experience whatever happens during that 20 minutes and then go home. It's really good.
That's right. That's right.
Mhm.
That's kind of why several things in that first year, my mother-in-law would always we'd say, well, do you want to come with us? And she, and she had been to a group that we had put on and things like that. And she had learned about the 20-minute. She's like, no, I think I'm gonna take my own car. I'll take my
Yeah,
own car that way. I'll leave when I need to. And she stayed sometimes a little longer than the 20 minutes and things like that. And she came and she socialized with people and I saw some joy and things like that. But then I know that when she got home, she struggled with that a little bit. But acknowledging the fact that that's going to happen it can be far better than, you know, having some anxiety about it, right?
yeah. Oh, for sure. You know, if you take your own vehicle, you don't feel trapped. So,
That's right.
and when you're grieving,
That's right.
that's a horrible feeling to have.
It is, it is. And then additionally planning, if you are going somewhere and okay, what if I do start to cry? What do I want my reaction to be? Not necessarily people's reaction, right? But what do I want my reaction to be? Okay, I'll slip off into the bathroom real quick and kind of dry my eyes a little bit, or I'll slip to my car. Just having a plan,
Yeah,
thinking about it. And then there's a good chance that it won't happen too.
true. True. You might get distracted for a few minutes and you may have
That's
some
right.
joy. That's
That's
true.
right. That's right.
Anyone else have a question or a comment for April? Well, I also wanted to speak to the quilt thing. I wish I had it here in front of me so I could show you. Oh, and I do not quilt either, April, so I am challenged like you are. No one would expect that of me, and I've looked at those places online that do it for you. But I was blessed with having a friend after my father died, and she took his shirts and made a quilt out of those. And it is such a
Mm.
cherished possession. And then when my husband died a couple of years later, she has taken all of his ties and made this beautiful round fan of all those ties,
Oh, I
to
love
put on a table or on the bed or whatever. So I am just blessed to have a friend that did that for me. And it is such a wonderful feeling to look at those
it.
items and have those wonderful memories. Yeah.
Definitely. At Vitas, when we have a memory bear program, we have seamstresses that volunteer. So when a patient passes, our families can bring us some clothing of that loved one, and our seamstresses make a memory bear out of it. I don't have one in my office to grab, but I wish I did. They're beautiful, and it's such a treasured item. I had some made after my grandfather died and then my father-in-law. And, there is something to that physical touch of something that was theirs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's the quilt, maybe it's you just running your hand over the quilt and feeling that connection. I squeeze my memory bear every once in a while, right? And it's just something about that physical connection to our loved one, or it helps with that physical connection that we can't necessarily get, right? It does, it's not the same, but
No.
it's something.
It is. It is. And,
Also,
and
sometimes when we have younger patients on service and they have children, I'll go out, or the social worker will go out, and we'll do some canvases with handprints of their parent on there, or the grandparent, because there's also something very special about putting your hand over someone's hand,
mm,
right? And
yeah.
always having that to just touch and to put your hand over their handprint can be a really great place of connection.
Mm, mm. Well, for me, I look at my father's shirts or my husband's ties, and I can remember when he wore that and this happy memory when he had that on. And so it's
Yeah.
the treasure to me. Yeah. Let's see. Gail says, my husband passed in July. Our anniversary
Sorry.
is the week before Christmas, and that is also my daughter-in-law's birthday. A lot going on, Gail. I'm trying to figure out
Mhm.
how to handle this. Do I still incorporate something to do for our anniversary as part of our celebration for her, or do it separately?
I mean, I'll encourage you to talk to her about it, you know, let her know that, obviously these days are connected in some way. So with the anniversary and the birthday, and how would she feel if you did something for your husband on her birthday? Is that okay? If it's something that she says no to, then that's maybe a way that you may want to do something different, maybe with your son, in particular for your husband's, you and your husband's anniversary, and spend some time with him, or do something like that. I think it's really about talking about it. It's really, don't allow it to be that elephant in the room, but ask her and say, I do feel the want to celebrate in some way, our anniversary, and how would you feel about that?
Mm,
We have to use our words, we have to talk about it, and that's,
mm.
and we will see how she reacts. And if it's not in a wonderful way, then we can figure something else out.
Gail, I hope that was helpful to you. Um, she said, thank you. She's going to talk to her. I remember though, April, back in those grieving days, and you talk about use your words, and it's so important in every day of our life to use our words. But it seems like sometimes it's really hard to find those words when you're in the midst
Yep.
of grief. Do you have any thoughts about how you have them actually come out of your mouth? You have them in
Yeah.
here.
How do you use your words when you don't even know what words to
Exactly,
use, right? I
exactly.
think that is a part of where maybe journaling can be helpful.
Mm,
You know, taking some time every day and just journaling some of those thoughts and feelings that you have. And that really does allow for that to become a little bit clearer. And if you're just really, really struggling and not being able to, everything feels overwhelming, and just you're struggling with that coping, going to maybe see a individual counselor, a therapist. That's what they're great at, right? That's a non-objective, or a very objective rather, person, or non-objective person. Be you telling them, kind of how you're feeling, and just, it may not even make sense, but they can help break that down. That's what that time is for, and help process. Okay, well, I hear you saying these few words. Would maybe this be a good solution? Or does this solution maybe feel better for you? Or does this, those types of things, really just kind of breaking it down, because you're right, sometimes we don't know what we need.
mm,
And that's
no.
also a good time to tell people, I don't know what I need, but I know that I need you in some way.
Hmm.
And maybe that's even just you sending me a text every couple of days and just saying, how are you this moment? How
Yeah.
are you this second?
I think the other thing that comes to mind that you touched on was about talking to about the person who has died. Um, for those of us that, and everybody has gone through this, and we come across people that they have a loved one that's died, and we don't know what to say either. Um, and know that it's okay to talk about that person, because, as a person trying to express grief, we want to walk on eggshells and not make it more painful for that person. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's additional, it's just about kind of getting your feet wet and talking about things in little spurts, or offering, some good memories about that person, talking about them in that way and seeing how that goes in a room, right?
Hmm.
But I think giving people permission to do it.
Ah,
Because
yeah.
I've been in a room where everyone is sad, everybody's struggling with the grief, but everybody is wanting to be strong for each other because that's what we do.
Mhm.
But really and truly, that's what we really need to do, is just allow for some of those feelings, allow for some of those sadness, and to know that when we allow for the feelings to come out versus pushing them down and not allowing, we get through them a lot quicker.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lean into them.
Hmm.
Lean into those feelings. You can
Yeah.
even, say at a family event, or let people know, we're all getting together, and I want you to know that it's okay to talk about him.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I think that, I'd like for us to maybe all go around the room and share a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Open the door for it.
Wonderful. I hope I'm not faced with that anytime soon, but
I know, I
I will
know.
remember
Grief
it.
is hard work.
Oh, yes. Brandon says, thank you, Glenda and April. I really appreciate your thoughtful words. It was a great meeting today. I have to leave a little early. Thanks again. This meant a lot to me today. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us for the time that you could. Yes.
Mhm.
So I want to say if you got with us a little bit later, I had said this already. April is sharing her PowerPoint presentation. We do send out a follow-up email to everybody that registered for the session today, and it will be attached to that email. We'd also very much appreciate it if you would fill out the survey that we have there on how you think we did today. Also, if you have a topic that you would like us to present on the Caregiver Teleconnection, please let us know about that. Or maybe you've been to a meeting somewhere and you've heard a presenter that you thought was really excellent on caregiving issues or aging issues. We'd love to hear about that also. We try and present sessions that will be helpful and useful to you, but you're in the trenches and you know what you're going through. So it'd be helpful to us to hear from you how we can help, because that's what we're here for. Any question, comment? Gail says, thank you for this session. It's been,
Mm,
very important. And I agree. I'm not in that process
mm,
right now, but it brings some of that back, April.
Sure.
Before we sign off, let me tell you a little bit about what else is happening on the Caregiver Teleconnection. We do have a short month this month. I mean, this time at this time because of the holidays. So on Monday, December the 11th, I had said earlier that there's going to be a session on managing the holidays, interactive discussion about how to cope. And this is sponsored by the North Central Texas Caregiver Teleconnection at noon on Monday, December the 11th. So there you go. Yes, Minerva is reminding me I have another session at 1 o'clock this afternoon with Tam Cummings. She's one of our regular presenters here and talks about all kinds of dementia and experiences in being a caregiver for someone with dementia. On Tuesday, Minerva, we have a Spanish language session, right? And from my broken Spanish, I read it to say how to manage stress during the holidays. And so if you know someone that is primarily a Spanish speaker, they can join that session on Tuesday, December the 12th at 10 o'clock Central Time. So we have a couple other sessions after that. If you don't have our calendar, be sure and get that. Let's see. Thank you both, Vanessa says. Use these tips during the holiday season and other holidays coming up. Hopefully it'll help me. Remember that 20-minute rule. That's a good one. And then April says, thank you. This will help me comfort a dear friend that just lost her husband suddenly. So thank you again. Well, April, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to come on and speak about something I'm very passionate about. Grief is, again, just hard work, and but it's important work. It's
Yes.
important that we do allow for ourselves to grieve and to allow for all the feelings that are associated with grief. And the truth is, we'll never stop grieving, but we
Yes.
do learn through time how to heal and how to cope with those moments. But just be kind to yourself. It's a
Um,
tough time.
yeah. Would you feel comfortable putting your contact information in the chat box so that people can get back with you on those sessions that you're having for the late registration?
Yes, I'm putting my email,
Okay.
my work email in here for you guys. So yeah, of course, if you would like for me to send you the Zoom link for our upcoming holiday memorial, email me and I'm happy to send that to you.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you again, April, for being with us today and sharing all this valuable information. I love having tips on any of the sessions that I'm involved with because I just think as a human being, it's so helpful to see it there. And I can do this
Mhm.
one, but maybe not this one, and you can kind of make your own menu out of it. So thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Everyone, thank you for joining us today and take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves during this holiday season and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you again for
Mhm.
being with us and have as enjoyable a holiday as you possibly can. Thank you, April.
Correct.
Bye
Oh
bye.
yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.